The challenge when what is arising has the appearance of being personally threatening to the lives of yourself, of your loved ones, threatening to your property, threatening to your identity. This too, and anything else you can imagine, and many things you can't imagine, wants to be seen. What arises does not have a vested interest in our survival or any aspect of our desires or our preferences. So the only refuge, which is an ultimate refuge, is the ultimate, is the unmanifest, is that in which your body, your sensations, your thoughts, your identity, all of your possessions, all of your loved ones are arising in. There is no other refuge. There is no safer bet. And you can be guaranteed you will lose everything, if not this week, then eventually. And this is the situation for every sentient being. None of us, as sentient beings, as embodied human, are safe from anything that has ever happened to any sentient being in all time, in some form or another. Maybe it won't be a barbarian coming over the wall, but it'll be some kind of, it could be some kind of barbarian. It could be, all of these become metaphors. Every bit of history becomes a metaphor for what is now. So every possibility is there for us. We are never, ultimately, relatively yes, ultimately no, any better off than anyone living in any country at any time, anywhere. So if we don't shrink in fear or expand in false boldness and puffed up, if we do neither, there is a chance for compassion for all sentient beings. Remembering everybody who's ever been as frightened as you may be in any particular moment, anybody who's ever been as frightened in all time, anybody who may be frightened now for the same reasons or for entirely different reasons somewhere else. Feel their fear and be in communion with them as well. You are not alone in this experience of being a fragile mammal at the whims of powers and forces beyond your control. Always. trying to eke out the false sense of control of your environment. Sometimes getting away with it, a lot of times getting away with it. And sometimes your bluff is called. And we are all found wanting. None of us can control the actions of other people, ever. None of us can control the thoughts of other people, ever. We can barely control our own thoughts. The biggest fulcrum, the fulcrum, the biggest leverage we have, which is a challenge, as I said, this is a challenge, is our own minds. How to respond to each new opinion that arises, each new fear, each new thought, each new doubt. Can we let go of every theory, even as we pick up the toy and look at it over and play with it a little bit and go, can we put it down? The chemistry of panic and fear produces the sense that things are going to fall apart right here very soon. Breathe and look around. And unless there actually is something happening right here, right now, you can afford to breathe and think better of it and not know. Not put your head in the sand, but not know. There may be preparations that you have to make, but you can make them here and now without the imagination of things being other than they are in front of you. We have the right to rile ourselves up. But what advantage is there really? What actual value is there really? There are forces and others who want to rile us up, and that should be enough. No need to cooperate with them. You're going to feel riled up anyway. There have been spiritual practitioners who have lived their lives with quiet dignity in the midst of horrible regimes. Just saying. Returning to the breath, returning to sensations. The breath, the sensations of the body, even the sensations of the emotions, when they're not coupled to the thinking process, when they're just felt, whether they're fear or anxiety or relaxation or peace, whatever emotions there are, whatever sensations of the whole body there are, whatever sensations of the breath there is, all of this is nature. All of this is nature. All of this is the stuff of the trees and the sky and the grass and the mountains. This body in itself, without the projection imputation of the intersubjective social mind. We just put that aside. Pay attention to our breathing, our body, our sensations. The simple act of eating and drinking a cup of tea, the simple act of breathing and walking is the goddess herself. True, even the permutations of the mind and their kind of craziness and all, that's also goddess. But it's so out on the limb. And right now we need the essence, the source of the trunk of the tree, not the little twig on the end, which is so unstable. So ground yourself in your body, ground yourself in the sensations of here-ness and now-ness. Connect to the earth, feel the ground beneath your feet and the planet itself. The ocean, the sky. Could care less who is occupying what office this week, next week, 3 weeks, 6 years, ever. It's meaningless. Tune into that dimension also. Take refuge with Mother Earth. You are always her child. She always is willing to hug you. She could care less about what the other children are doing. She loves them too, but you have a connection to her anytime you want. Turn to her. Feel her. Feel her embrace. As for this body, it's come from her. And it'll go back to her. So while it's walking around and breathing and doing things, let it be connected to her. As for consciousness, never really was anywhere, is simply aware of all of this. As for your soul adventures, from God you have come, and to God you will return. And everything will probably work out anyway, so there's no reason to worry about anything. But you never know. You never know. That if anything has been taught to us in this last year, you never know. So I didn't know I was going to say any of that, but that's what has come to say. If anybody has anything they'd like to share or any questions or any protestation, please feel free. Vivi.
Krishna, I was just thinking about uncertainty and thinking about asking you about living with that, and you pretty much spoke to that. So I don't know if there's any more to be said, but that was really helpful. And it felt like you were just answering my question that I had in my head.
Oh, great. Excellent. Happy to oblige.